Well, good morning, YouTube. It's Monday, June 30th, I believe, last day of June. Tomorrow's the 1st. Around here we call it Canada Day. I booked today off. They weren't going to give it to us, but I took it. Make a long weekend out of it. So here we are. Tomorrow would be Canada Day. Happy Canada Day to all my Canadian friends. You know who you are. Mr. Rick Fix and Raz D Formetta, and there's a few more of you out there. Today, before it gets to be too unbearable out there, my plan was replacing this on my starter. I've got the original foot starter in this thing still, and the lever comes down when you hit the pedal and pushes that, which makes your at the same time it pushes the Bendix out into the flywheel, then makes the electrical connection inside here. My original one was original to the truck, and the copper had worn down to the point that it wouldn't contact anymore. I took it all apart, flipped it over, got a new edge on it, but it's starting to get to a point where I gotta almost bury the pedal into the floor before it makes contact. So I picked that up for, well, actually, the fella gave that to me. I was trying to get a price out of him, and you start telling guys about the project you're doing and everything else, and you go, take it, take it. It's like, no, what was it, $10 or something? And he wouldn't let me pay for it. So that's to you, Miles, over at Windsor Starter Powerhouse. Thanks, bud. And when the starter actually pukes, I'm bringing it to you to rebuild the whole thing. I think originally I found some brushes that fit it, and I just sort of cleaned up the armature. But enough yakking. We're going to get the hood up on this and start taking it apart. I'll bring you along. Okay guys, this is a test to see if you can see what I see, because I can't see it. So thanks to a fancy trouble light and my trusty tripod, here we go. Okay guys, I have disconnected the negative battery cable for safety reasons. We wouldn't want to get electrocuted. Basically, it's no different than like a start solenoid you'd have on a regular starter. You've got your main positive wire off the battery, and then another heavy gauge wire that feeds all the accessories in the truck. Goes to that top terminal, and there's a side terminal on this that does a little tricky thing. Hopefully you can see that there. There's I can show you in the switch when we get it apart. This wire here feeds direct 12 volts to the coil, bypassing the ballast resistor. And then when the starter releases, it goes back to the step down voltage of whatever it is, 9 volts or something like that. So you get a full 12 volts to the coil when you're cranking it. Other than that, we're just going to take the wires off it, then we'll go underneath, and I'll bring you back when we're unbolting her. All going well. There's one coarse threaded 1/2 inch bolt on the bottom, and there's a fine threaded stud on the top. That's a little bit of pain here, if you can see my hand. A little awkward, but what starter isn't? I think I put this together on the engine. It was hanging on the cherry picker. But it's been a couple of years since I've even had this starter off. I probably could have done this in the truck if I really wanted to, so I could starter solenoid like I was saying, but in order to show you guys, I thought I would show you just how simple it is. First I'm cramping up here. Up more turns and we're off. Might have to do a little bit of editing here because nobody wants to sit and watch me turn a bolt for 10 minutes. Not really 10 minutes, feels like 10 minutes. Here we go. That's it. This is where the starter generally falls on your head. Wait for it. Wait for it. Because you know you can't get two hands up there. One to hold the starter, one to do the nut. But if you're careful enough, don't bump it. There you go. We'll see you up top. So that wasn't so bad. So there's the baby we're after right there. I got the new one here. Brand spanking new. Basically the gist of what I was trying to explain is you've got an arm here that's connected to your foot pedal, and as the foot pedal goes down it pushes the Bendix out into the flywheel and then hits the actual starter connection. What I'm having trouble with is that the Bendix is out and right there I'm more or less hitting it with my pedal, but I've got to jam it right to the base, so I'm assuming that my brass is wore to the point that it's not hitting anymore. We'll open that up and see what happens. Bring you back when I get it. Well, there it is. And I think we're a little bit worse off than I thought. Maybe I got a little starter issue, because that should not have arced that bad. But that's what's happening there, is that the terminals wore right out where it hits the positive to the starter here. But trying to remember, I took that apart and spun it to get the best edge. I think this edge here was wore out as well. Let me get the other one out and we'll compare. Let me bring these in for a closer look. This was the one that I did the brushes on. They're doing fine. Armature's still nice and clean. So I think our only issue was that top solenoid contact there. So yeah, real happy. Springs are good. I think I replaced all this with the stuff out of a, it'd be like a 1980 starter. It was all the same stuff. The only thing that was different about it was this front nose piece. So we'll change that up, clean it up, and we'll give you a test drive. See ya. And there you go, back together again. Big difference. I can feel it. Boom, it's right there. It's hitting the contact. So I have no doubts that this was a good thing that I did this, because something tells me that I was destined to fail there. Sometimes it felt like I had to kick the thing to get it to connect. And that would explain why. But there you go. Starter switch slash solenoid, whatever you want to call it. Well, solenoid's because it's a magnetic pull. This is mechanical pull. Done. On my 1957 Chevy stepside 235. And obviously to put her back in, reverse as taking her out. That's all. We'll show you once it's all back together, and maybe if the rain holds off, we'll go for a test drive. You never know. Okay, we're back in. Negative cable attached. Cross your fingers, boys. Oh, that's so much nicer. Okay, that was very successful. World of difference. That's hitting right when I want it to now. Alright guys. See ya.